Hello and happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday. I'm Darcy Loma and I'm here today with a special guest who I am honored to introduce you to. Morag Barrett, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, Darcy, I am so excited for our conversation.
I am too. I just love the energy and already coming in today, we had some snafus and just the playfulness and like the compassion that, yeah, life is crazy, we're busy, as opposed to sort of being rigid and frustrated or angry. And that's what we're going to talk about today is playfulness in the workplace. Before we do that, would you be willing to just share about who you are and what you do?
Oh, who am I and what I do? Oh, my goodness gracious, where to start? Well, okay, so my name's Morag Barrett. I'm a ballroom dancer, or I was, before assume the position. I was a ballroom dancer, at least for fun, before pandemic, and when I could get up close to strangers. So I have a whole closet full of sequins that are just screaming to get out. I'm the
Oh
mother
my
of
God, how fun is that?
Oh, it's amazing. I tell you, that was a huge learning journey. I started it about 10 years ago when my youngest son at that time was 9. He was literally this high on me and he was my dancing partner.
Oh.
And amazing, amazing. Anyway, so much fun and learning and leadership and control and letting go of control to come out of that. So as you've gathered, I've got a youngest son who is no longer this tall. He is now 6 foot tall, as are his 2 twin brothers. So I have 3 sons. And when I'm not focused on family or dancing, I am the CEO of SkyTeam, an international leadership and executive development firm, and the author of 3 books. So there's a little bit of potted history, a little bit of personal and a little bit of professional.
Okay, I don't know. You could pick any one of those and it seems like it'd be a full time, let alone 3 sons. Oh, that is incredible. So I thank you for stepping away from all of that to be with me today. And I thought it'd be fun to just touch on the topic of playfulness and how do you incorporate play in the workplace? And I know that you've been a leader for a long time. And I'm just wondering if you can share the insights you have maybe personally on how you bring play in the workplace and what's important about that to you and maybe for your team.
Well, I'll let your listeners start with a base point. 3 words. 3 words to describe how you felt at work today. All right. So wherever you're listening at it, how are you feeling right now? And often what I'll hear from leaders when I talk about what emotions have you experienced at work in the last 2 weeks, or have your friends at work experienced, it's stress, it's anxiety, it's uncertainty. And it takes a while when we're labeling all of the emotions for joy and fun to appear. And ultimately, if you think about it, if what we're predominantly feeling is stress and anxiety, then that is heavy. And when we're facing the turbulence and the uncertainties that, for example, the pandemic has brought us, then our energy and our curiosity and our innovation tends to get stifled in how do we face that uphill slog. And life is just too short. So fun, not necessarily frivolous fun, there is a time and place for frivolous fun, but bringing joy to the workplace, making life and work lighter helps us all, because then it becomes a place we want to be, where we can thrive and grow and face the challenges together versus a burden that we carry that brings us down. So that's why it's important. How can we re-inject that passion, that enthusiasm, that verve more often than not back into our careers, our work, our day?
That's so powerful. And it also makes me just think about how you have the right team members on the bus is if there is some joy and fun, right, that there's alignment on the mission of the organization and there's some passion. And I'm wondering, maybe you can speak to that. Like, how do you know? And what are the signs if an organization or business isn't having fun?
Well, invariably, at the ultimate, the results do suffer. And I've seen it. I mean, my first career, I was in banking. And let's face it, when I was in banking in the 90s, because my career is somewhat old, It was definitely a traditional, and I'm British, as you've gathered from the accent. So you had a triple whammy going on there because A, it was the stiff upper lip, carry on, nothing to see here. So no drama. It was banking, so it was male dominated. It was suits, ties, buttoned up. Everything was in its place. It was order and control.
Oh.
And yet what we realize is that only gets us so far. Because if as colleagues, we just treat each other as job titles, as a means to an end, and that's what I saw in that banking career when I was looking at numbers and lending millions of pounds to companies, when we aren't connected at a human level, where business gets done, it's how business gets done, it's how we overcome adversity, it's how we create new products and innovation, it's how we go the extra mile to create a customer experience that keeps people coming back for more. That's when the disconnect happens. And how do you know it? You're not getting your business results. You may be seeing turnover going up with the great resignation, the great realignment that we're reading about right now, I think is a symptom of the fact that for the last 2 years, when we moved to virtual worlds, the only time that people called was to check in on what you were doing, not how you're doing. And recent research that I've conducted, recent research from Gallup and others, has reaffirmed that nobody in the last 2 weeks has called to check in on how a team member is doing versus what they're doing. That 20% of employees and 20% of the leaders who've completed our ally mindset profile report that they have no friends, not one, no friends at work that they can call on in an emergency or in a time of need. And that is a heartbreaking statistic.
Well, and it makes me also wonder how much that contributes to the Great Resignation. And, I'm imagining some people watching might be thinking, it feels counterintuitive. If we are an organization because we have a mission and we want to get results, what does fun have to do with that? Isn't that going to be a distraction from us achieving our results? And one of the things I'm hearing you say is it's exactly the opposite.
It is exactly the opposite. I mean, if I think about one of my friends and colleagues, Dr. Bob Nelson, he wrote the book, he's written many books, but 1001 Ways to Motivate and Engage Your Employees. And it is all about fun. Now, it goes beyond ice cream on a Friday. At SkyTeam, for example, a simple thing. We're a small boutique organization, but every staff meeting, we start with what we call ripples and joys. So what are ripples and joys? Well, ripples are you share a project or an impact that we've had either for each other or for a client, something that's moved forward. For example, my ripple this week, I got a LinkedIn message from somebody in India who just read my first book, Cultivate the Power of Winning Relationships. And it was a powerful message. A, she loved the book, but B, she wanted to share that while she wouldn't share this publicly, one of the chapters had caused her to think about a particularly difficult relationship in her life, and that she'd read that chapter with tears in her eyes. However, it had also inspired her to try and rekindle that relationship. Oh my God, that is a powerful ripple that made my day. And then a joy is something personal or professional that's made us laugh or made us just happy and full of life. And so we got into the habit of doing this. And I'll admit, I thought it was a bit hokey when we started. After a week or two, I was thinking, we're never going to have stuff. And not every week does everybody on the team have something to share. But I can tell you that that has brought us closer together because we've learned about each other. We can check in, we know when big life anniversaries are happening. And we would not have weathered the pandemic storm as effectively, but for the strength of the relationships, the fun and the trust that we had built between us.
Beautiful story. It makes me think the church that my daughters and I go to, at one of the parts of the service is the joys and concerns. And that's when somebody stands up and says, I'd like to pray for somebody in my life for this joy, or something like somebody got cancer or there's a concern. And the humanity and the connection that brings, I love. And what I'm hearing you say is when you're opening up your team meetings, that's providing an opportunity to lift up the playfulness, the connection, the joy, the ripples and joys that inevitably are there that you otherwise might not, especially in a Zoom. You're not coming early and chit-chatting while you're getting coffee before the meeting. You're like, ding, you hop on and the meeting starts.
Exactly. And so the joy and the burden that Zoom brings us, that's me drawing my little camera angle thing here, is that, I mean, we were talking about it in the green room, in the three-dimensional world, when we arrived a few minutes late into a meeting, having got our coffee on the way or whatever, nobody batted an eyelid. We just sat down, we slipped into the small talk, and then we continued into the big talk of business. But now in the pandemic world, in the hybrid world, if we're 2 or 3 seconds late, we're straight into, oh no. And of course, this is, in theory, increased connection through technology. Mm. And yet, as I've already shared, the sense of disconnection, the epidemic of loneliness is only increasing. So anything that we can do as leaders or as team members to just slow down for a moment, to be intentional before we join the call around how do I need to show up? Yeah. To demonstrate that empathy and nurture that sense of belonging is key, especially if you're trying to reverse the turnover and resignation that we're seeing in the world, certainly in the US job market at the moment.
Okay, so then let's just say I'd like to take it to a really concrete level for a moment. If you are working with an organization who has a leader or a manager or somebody in the team who's resistant to that connection, that playfulness, that joy, and just saying, no, we need to produce more widgets. We need to be focused. How do you deal with that?
Well, I think there's a room for both. And certainly when I'm working, I'm thinking about an executive team that is in a manufacturing industry. So they operate 24/7. It is an assembly line environment. It's do your job, do your job, do your job, keep doing your job. It's repetitive. And what we were able to show is that by bringing some fun and spark in their shift talks beforehand, again, just kept the enthusiasm and the accuracy actually went up. In another organization, oil and gas, I'll give you another example of fun. We were asked to come in and design a safety leadership workshop. In that organization, most of the employees actually weren't W-2. They were contractors coming on to drilling sites to do their job and leave. So there is no carrot and stick there of follow the safety rules or we're going to fire you. It's got to be a different way. Now, we're not doing OSHA training. That's not what we're there for. But we designed a program around the quality of the relationships, how much we know, like, and trust each other. And as a result of that program, an 18% reduction in reportable injuries. That is the power of the human connection. That is the power of having fun, but within guardrails. And so if you've got resistance, maybe you've got somebody on your team who's like me, oh, well, this is stupid, I'm not playing. Well, fine. Let the early adopters share their ripples and joys. And in 6 weeks, maybe that person will contribute or not. But if 80% of your team is feeling more engaged, that's a win. That's a win. Hold on to that, not the 20% who aren't there yet.
Right. I mean, that's such a great perspective that instead of being frustrated or angry that somebody isn't embracing it, you just meet them where they are and hope that they get on board because the other people are stepping into that and it's increasing connection and having more fun. Okay, so is there any example then of when you've worked with or coached or taught a leader to be able to play more and embrace this mindset who maybe didn't see the value of it previously?
It happens every time we put an agenda together. I'm off to facilitate a strategic retreat with an executive team of engineers in a few weeks. And we have interspersed in the agenda, there's the business. Where do we need to be in 3 years' time? What's the competitive landscape? There's also team health. How are we doing as a leadership team in communicating that vision and aligning the group and restructuring priorities? But in between that, we've got some team building fun. And again, it's as simple as here's a piece of paper, grab one from the printer, draw a picture of how you got to where you are today. There are only 2 rules, no words, and it's got to include at least one thing you do for fun at work. Now, when I was working with my gold mining clients, I'd get a lot of trucks and they go fishing and hunting and outdoor sports. When I'm dealing with others, it might be reading, it might be music. But invariably, when people draw that picture, once they've got past the, I can't draw, I'm going to get judged, there is invariably, you went to that university? Oh, you lived in that city. Do you know so-and-so? Oh, you had that career high or low? Me too. There's a way of playing more that isn't scary. It doesn't require special equipment. It isn't a ropes course, but it is a way of, again, bringing that humanity to work and connecting us in new and different ways.
Which I love, because that goes to the next question. What I was intuitively thinking of is like, okay, but teams are busy and they've got big goals and huge missions they're trying to work on. And what if you don't have time? I'm hearing you say that you infuse it into what you're already doing. Start the meeting with ripples and joys. Bring in the playful drawing in the midst of talking about the strategic planning.
Yeah. Another quick one, a quick show and tell. We do workspace show and tell. Grab something from your desk that others might find unexpected. And so, for example, I've got this little unicorn theme at SkyTeam. And so people will hold them up and then we get to look and it's like, oh, what's that? Eric on my team has his guitars hanging on the wall behind him. And often we'll get those down to talk about, well, why this guitar? How does it differ from the others? Where does he play it? So it's finding moments in what you're doing already in your next one-on-one. Just ask a different question around what somebody has done that surprised them. Ask them what they're most looking forward to between now and year end, and just see where the conversation goes. It doesn't have to be a lot of work. It is about doing what we do already, but in a more thoughtful and deliberate way.
I love that. I mean, our whole mission is on being thoughtfully fit, to be more thoughtful and deliberate in how you do this. And I'm just going to, if I can, lean into the idea you just gave about the show and tell, because I was just with Kara on my team, and my mom died last year, and she just gave this to me, my mom and myself and my two daughters. And it was the best gift ever. And when you just said the show and tell, I'm like, I want to show, I want to tell. So that right there made an immediate connection with you. I felt seen and heard, even though we're talking about it, that you're like, show me something that might be unexpected. And it took what, all of 40 seconds?
All of 40 seconds. And in fact, tell me then about the bike that I see behind you. What's that all about? Yeah, that's right. You've got to learn which way to point when we're on camera. So the bike, is it a stunt bike or is it a bike that actually gets ridden?
Right. It's a metaphor. I love biking. I'm a triathlete. And so when I saw this, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's what I want in my environment when I'm inside. Because if I could, I'd be out on my bike all day.
Well, I love it. And as you say, your newsletter, the Thoughtfully Fit series, and the pause and the thing, and the way you just condense it down means that we all have time to reflect on the insights that you're sharing. And it's funny because in my career, as I've said, I've always been fairly buttoned up, and it's in the last 10 years that I've really started to allow authenticity to come through. And for those who are watching, I mean, the unicorn thing was a chanced comment that I made to a colleague that has got a little out of hand. I'm not the cat lady, I'm the unicorn lady. I probably have 50 unicorn items in the house, none of which I have bought. Clients have given them to me. My team will buy them for me. And if you go to the book website, youmeWeBook.com, which is our new book, You, Me, We, Why We All Need a Friend at Work and How to Show Up as One. But check out the website, pre-order the book. But I don't want you to go because you'll see the unicorn is coming through in our new branding because it has taken hold. So done is the stuffy style of website that I've had till now because I thought I had to fit in. Instead, what we're showing is our personalities are starting to come through, and that's going to continue to be revealed over the next few months. The video's worth watching too. There's a movie theme for that, and there's a unicorn in it. So, you know, you can infuse fun in your own way, in your own style, at your own pace. But I promise you will reap the benefits when you do so.
I love that. And you are ahead of me. You are a role model and inspiration. You've been working on this 10 years. For me, it was really just last year. My intention was to be more playful. I am not playful. And so I've just been on this journey, like intentionally in the last 2 years, trying to bring in more playfulness and fun. And I tell you, just even the permission to say, yes, Right? How could this be more fun and more playful? And how could I feel more connected? And I love, how do you have a friend and be a friend? Because that's oftentimes where I find it's easier for me to be more playful with somebody I like and who I'm friends with.
Well, here's what I see. I started our conversation by asking about 3 words to describe what does it feel to be like, what does it feel like to be at work today? And here's what I've seen in the work that we've done either as executive coaches or as team coaches, building high-performing teams, when you can go from the stress, anxiety, worry, and eventually joy to leading with fun, challenging, but in a fun way, more of the glass half full emotions. That's where I've seen teams and company performance turn around. And it goes back to what you just said. It's permission to experience it in your own way and in your own time. But as leaders and team members, we have to create that environment, and we have to give the explicit to say, here's what we're looking to achieve and why it matters. And then sit back and enjoy the fun.
I love it. And thank you for even commenting a moment ago about the core and Thoughtfully Fit. And we always end our Thoughtfully Fit Thursdays with that core workout. So if you're finding that you're faced with a leadership challenge, maybe that's the time to take the pause button and to think about, how can you approach this conversation more playfully? And how can you flow with that problem instead of forcing a solution? And then take the next playful step while remembering to have fun at the same time. So Morag, I'm so inspired by this. Where can people find more if they are wanting to go deeper into what you do?
Well, they definitely should check out the book website, YouMeWeBook.com. They should also...
I will be pre-ordering it, by the way. So.
I adore you. Thank you. We literally just launched that on this week. And connect with me on LinkedIn if you message me, if you want suggestions, resources, if you just have a question on what can I do with my team, I will answer. I love abundance and generosity. I will give. And then, of course, check out skyteam.com and watch our new branding unfold, but you'll learn all about our programs, our teamwork, and also our executive coaching programs.
I love it. Thank you for being here today, sharing your wisdom, your joy, your unicorn. Congratulations on your new book. That is a huge accomplishment. I mean, I have one book and I'm going to be in recovery for a few years before I can tackle number 2.
Birthing a book, harder than birthing 3 boys. Yeah. And brings, the boys still bring more joy, but I love them.
Most days, right? Thank you so much, Morag, for joining me today. Everybody, happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday. We will see you next time.